What are some of your biggest mistakes that you have made that trying to get into the luxury arena listing?
Well, we just hit on one of them. I think thinking what the luxury market clientele is like is, I mean, yes, you want to know them in a broad sense. You want to know what they like to do. You want to know where they go, etc. But actually getting into their mind is one of the biggest mistakes I think I made when I made the shift, because I remember thinking, oh, this is really expensive. This like $100,000 kitchen in this I went into it with a mindset of other clients that I've had in the past and or my own, how I perceive what they're going to think. So I think don't assume. I mean, it's a good piece of advice in life anyway, but especially when I started to get into the luxury market, I had to stop presuming. Like I remember just a different story. I was showing one of my properties early on and I said something like, oh, this space is really a little small. Meanwhile, it was 1,000 square feet, but the person was coming from like a 400 square foot property, and they were going, wow, look at this closet space. And I wanted to bite my tongue because I had said, oh, look how small this place is. Same thing in the luxury market. I think, they look at things differently as it relates to price points. It's not just a price, it's a lifestyle in the luxury market. And I think that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I think you can make, or that I made.
Yeah, always stay positive. If all your comments, anytime you put negative comments in, you can say, oh, this guy's not, this person's not for me. He's not on, have my best interests. Always stay positive. One other thing I should learn is that, with luxury listing, you always, they always get a thing the house is worth more, all right? And one thing is that you don't want to do is say, you recommend a certain price, and they come to you and say, well, I really want to do this price. And don't say, let's try it. When you say you're trying it, that means you don't have confidence in that number, okay? And you want to be careful on how you choose your wording, especially with the high-end clients, because they will remember everything you say.
I agree.
Okay.
And you actually just reminded me of something that I think is really true. So you want to listen and you want to hear what people are saying, but you never want to ask what they think of what you think, because you are there for a reason. They think you are the expert. So you don't want to say to them, well, like you just said, we could try it. Then they think you don't know. They want you to know. So you have to be authoritative in some, in a very respectful way, of course, but you can't be second guessing what you think. You are the expert in the market. They are an expert on their home, but they're not an expert on what that home is going to sell for.
So Simon, let's say you go in there, the house is really 2.5, but they think that it's 3 million. So then what do you say? Do you convince them to go to the 2.5, or
I would say to them, hey, listen, I'm glad that you asked me that question. I'm glad that you bring that up. That's what you think your house is worth today. Let's go back to the data right now. Let's go back to the information. Everything I provide you is actually what's sold in the last 6 months. And this is not something that I created. This is all facts. And we look at your house based on location, conditions, and price. Nothing different to any homes that you have, that you would do comps or comparison to. And you point out all the things that you go really now more deeper and say, hey, this house at 2.6 is asking for this, and they have 7 bedrooms, you have 6 bedrooms, and then you have 4 bedrooms, you have 3 bedrooms, blah, blah, blah. You go really deep, right? But after that, I say, hey, but after now we really study this data for you, what do you really think now your house is based on the information that you just saw? And do you think your house, how quickly you want house to be off the market? And what price do you think buyer would come in and buy your house at? Based on the 5 comparables, the data. And also make sure you don't say comparables, make sure you say data, okay? Always have 5, that's key. If you can show them 5 sale, that's great, 5 under contract, and 5 sold. If there's no 5 sale on the market, that's even better. Say, hey, by the way, with low inventory, there's only one house as compared to your house, which is fantastic because then we can price it what we need to be to make sure your house sold. Then you go to the under contract. When you see the under contract, say, look at how many days those houses on the market. You can see, hey, this house priced at $3 million, but that house stayed on the market for 87 days versus this house at $2.5 million stayed on the market for 12 days. Which one do you want to be at? Do you really want to show your house for 87 days and people coming in and out?
Yeah. Well,
Most of them, the high net worth people, don't want to bother to show the house. They don't want anyone to come in, right? Say, I don't want a lot of people comes in. I just want to get the right buy come through. Like you want to make sure you price it correctly. That you can actually say, hey, listen, we can get this done in the first weekend, right? And you have to believe in it. Knowing that your data, knowing your facts, knowing the market, if you price a certain number, it's going to happen, right? And then we always go back and say, and that's one thing you need to know. And also, when you take a listing, you don't always get listed that minute, right? So you want to make sure that you say, hey, by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we are looking at this right now. We're talking about range at this moment. But really, before we put the house on the market, 2 days beforehand, let's go back to the drawing board and go back and see where the price is. So you're giving yourself another opportunity to give them that price again, right? So just remember that. Does that make sense?
we
Everybody?
always do that reevaluate because, you know, when you're looking at data, which is, I love that little note, don't call them comps. When you're looking at data, that you can't just look at it the week that you're pitching them and then not look at it anymore. It changes. New things come on, new things sell. And so I always say to them, we're not going to just look at this once. Now that you've decided to work with us, or if you're deciding to work with us, we are going to evaluate the data every single day until the day we get your accepted offer, and maybe beyond because we want to appraise, right? Also, we talk about days on market and list price to buy price ratios, and emphasize the fact that if you price it right, you're going to get a less of a gap. So, you know, you could price it for whatever you want, but that's not, you know, that's not going to be, you know, your net. Isn't that what it's really all about, right? What you're putting in your pocket. I actually just had that conversation last night because we're putting something on in Ridgefield.
Yeah, and when you go into appointments, just making sure you don't set that one, just set a number, one particular number, because they will always hold you to it. And then when you come back 2 months later, hey, you know what, we're ready to list the house. And then like all of a sudden the market changes because you have no idea what the market's going, right? You don't have a crystal ball. But then all of a sudden the neighbor down the street, you didn't know they were selling. They're listing at $300,000 less, right? It's just, you know, that has happened. So,
yes, I've had that happen too.
And you have to have those conversations. So it's like, hey, listen, you know what? They're pricing it to get multiple offers. Do you want to take that risk? Are you willing to go to that level, right? We can definitely do that. Or they may say, hey, you know what? That's not what we want to do. Okay, then let's go here because I firmly still believe in the number. But again, you have to remember, like, have that conversation right from the beginning. So study your numbers really, really carefully, and always 3 days before 2 days actually. Even the day of, I even go back online before I put the house, like click on it and say active. I look to make sure there's no listing come on the market. You have to be that much studying that market because markets go really fast, change really fast, especially in the higher market. So
yeah,
right?
It happens on regular listings too. You know, I especially find like if we're doing something in like the Ritz or, you know, one of the higher end buildings in our area, I have, you know, from minute to minute an apartment can be coming on. And then you really are comparing apples to apples.
Definitely.
So you gotta be careful.
So with the low inventory, I know you guys have low inventory too where you are.
Yeah.
So with low inventory, where are you finding able to find like off-market luxury listing?
You know, again, this is about having conversations. Don't be a secret agent. When you are talking with people, make sure they know what you do and make sure that you're having that conversation. I have yet to enter a conversation where somebody doesn't ask me how's the market. And that's the opening for you to say, you know, the market's fabulous, you know, prices are terrific. However, the inventory is low. I'm looking for people that are, interested in selling for top dollar. We can help them make their next move to wherever they want to go. So I come out and ask. I will, flat out ask people that I know. You go back to what we were talking about before. Be in an environment where the people that you're talking to are going to be able to tell you something good. And then say that to them. Tell me something good. Tell me who I can help.
And then by you knowing the local market, who's the luxury agent who does certain volume, make sure you stay in touch with them. Because I always get emails and texts privately and say, hey Simon, by the way, we have the exclusive come on the market, and just want you to know we're gonna show it, blah blah blah. And it's a return. It's back and forth. And
Yes.
you guys say, hey, do you have any exclusive coming up? Do you have anything that's $4 million? I have a buy that's $4.5 million. I'm starting to think in my head, it's like, you know what? I have a client that may be thinking about they're not ready, so let me reach out and get that happen, right? So you never know what someone else have, but if you don't ask, you're not gonna get that information.
And that speaks to what we were saying before about having relationships with, go to those open houses. That's how you meet the people, and then you reach out and say, hey, I have this coming on, or I have a buyer that's looking. Just more touches. I wanted to just say something too, that I think that it doesn't always have to be you going out there and being the proactive one, although that's really, really important. But if you treat your clients a certain way, and we were talking before about the unreasonable hospitality, if you treat your clients with a level of service, they are talking about you to other people, and they're coming to you. It's such a great feeling when somebody, reaches out to me and says, hey, I was talking to so-and-so, they're looking for a home. I told them how amazing you and your team were. Can I send their name to you? Yeah, that would be great. So, if you provide a level of service that is really exceptional, people are going to be talking about you even when you're not in the room. So,
how many of you guys have read Unreasonable Hospitality?
So-
okay, you guys all need to read it.
well, they're going to have a chance to do that, Simon.
Right, that's right. We're gonna talk to you in a second. It's definitely worth reading. It's
Unreasonable
yeah.
hospitality.
by Will. What's his last name?
Will it's,
We have the book.
I have
so-
the book. I'll
Yeah, we'll give it to you in a
Gandara.
second.
I think it's Gandara, but I could
Yeah.
be mistaken.
Yeah.
I read the book a long time ago, but I just wanted to say my team is actually, we're reading it together because that is who we want to be. We want to give unreasonable hospitality to everybody that we serve because that's where our strength is. So, for us, we're reading the book as book club. We're going to discuss ways of, you meet clients and you are with them for, however length of time, at least 2 months usually, and you're spending, you are their person. There's so much opportunity to understand what they know, what they love, what's important to them, who's important to them. And if you can show up in ways that says, I'm paying attention, that speaks volumes. And then those people talk about you.
Yeah, you gotta remember it's a lifestyle, right? It's the experience that you want to create for them. So again, think outside the box. If the books have many stories. I've been listening to him, and I went to some of his seminar as well. And some people go to his restaurant. It's a restaurant on in New York City.
Yeah, well,
And sometimes what they do is that if they hear things from experience that they were people sitting on the table. One of the experiences they say, hey, they were they were able to experience all the things that New York City. They saw all the different sites, and they went to all different things. And then the waiter overheard and said, hey, you know what? We never experienced having a hot dog in New York City, those hot dog stands, right? So they heard that. They actually went to the back door, went outside, and then went to a hot dog stand and picked up how many hot dogs, brought it back to the restaurant, cut it up to very nicely to a certain piece, put garnishes on it, make it look really expensive, and they actually presented and say, hey, this is on the house. They will blow out of their mind. You're creating experience they never expect. And that's what you want to do for every single one of your high-end client, buyer, seller, you want to do that.
Right.
And your listening skill is so important. Listen to everything they say to you. All right? That was just one experience.
Yeah, the name of the restaurant was 11 Madison Park. I was fortunate enough to actually dine there years ago, and it really, truly is an experience. And Will, the author of the book, mentions that particular, like that idea and that happening that he was integral in started a whole new purpose in his life in that restaurant because he realized how significant it was for that family. There's another example I'll mention briefly where it was a family that was in from another country and the children had never experienced snow. And it started snowing, and so they arranged for a car with sleds to take them to Central Park so the kids could experience snow on their way out leaving the country. Those are the kinds of things that people talk about forever, that give me goosebumps, that I want to be. That's so, I think when you're talking luxury, experiences are invaluable because they can buy whatever they want.
Yeah, they have all the money, right? Yeah. So if you can create experience that they were, at that moment, they cannot have, and you're able to give them the experience, they will forever remember you.
Yeah. Right now, we've tasked our team to find out something special about the people they're working with, whether they're high end or not, whether, no matter what they're buying. And on our weekly meetings, we are discussing what our agents have discovered about the people they're working with so that we can somehow enhance their experience with us and they can leave us saying this was, these guys are the best.
And then let's go to social media. How do you think someone should portray themselves for a luxury listing or luxury agent in social media or any digital marketing?
Yeah, so I think your social media digital marketing should be in alignment with your regular marketing, of course, right? If you're going high end regular marketing, you want to pull that through your social media. I think that, again, you want to be consistent. Your materials should be, sleek and simple and luxury minded. I think you have to know who you're marketing to, which is something that is more on the back end of it. But, where are you doing your social media posts? And be creative with that. We have somebody that works on it for us, so I don't get into the nitty gritty of it. But if I see something that they make that I think isn't right, I will ask them not to post it because I do want it to be, at a certain level. One of the dilemmas I've come across lately is people in the past have asked if they could, list or market my property. And in the past I was like, yeah, sure, more people see it, the better, I don't mind. But lately they're asking me if they can actually make their own video with my property. And the answer to that is totally different because I'm very particular about what I'm going to post for my client, and so is he. This one that I'm thinking of right now.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to say, yeah, go do like tumble salts off the roof and market my property. I don't know what they're going to do, so I'm a little more careful about that now, because you want to make sure what you're putting out there is consistent with the message you're trying to send about that particular property.
Yeah, definitely. And also remember, once you post anything online, it's there forever. They can always go back to search how you may start off agent that's do 400, 500,000, and then now you get to the arena that's doing like $3 million. Just be careful what you post. Everything from your comments to your social media posts. I'm big on say, hey, let's not post anything that's inappropriate pictures. I'm big on, hey, just making sure concentrate on the house and making sure that you're posting that you can actually back up to it, that you can say it. There's food coming.
What?
Someone's delivering something. Again, simple is better than having too much information. Just remember that. A lot of people tend to want to just put everything in that post and just like shove everything in. You want to like, have like a whole long post. People, listen, I'm a high D. I do not have the patience to read a whole long giant post. So give me like top 3 sentence, 4 sentence, catchphrases. That's gonna catch my attention, right? Most high net worth people, I think they are mostly high D most of the time. Right?
Well, it's interesting though. I'm a high I, and I recently said that to my my social media staff. It's like, what is this? It sounds like I'm writing a book. Like, get to the point. Keep it quick, because whether you're an I or a D, if you're being purposeful in the property, you want them to see. Nobody's going to read everything. Everybody's busy. So you have to at least make sure your first few points, maybe your top 3, are hitting what you want to say about that property.
Yeah, definitely. You have a question?
I don't know if you have this, I have a couple people looking at that, like, 1.5 to like maybe 3 million.
Uh-huh.
And even if they're going to sell, I feel like those people are allowed to private. Like, they don't want me blasting all this stuff I don't know, maybe it's just my particular clients, and I feel like they're.
I think you might have some of that.
Yeah, I think there's a privacy issue on the high end that you don't see elsewhere.
I don't even mention their names when I'm around people, because I know that they don't want people knowing their business.
Well, I think that is something that's between you and your client,
Yeah.
and you come to agreement. Again, this is when coming into when you have that consultation with them. You can tell them everything you do, and if they don't want you to do something, you make sure you want to listen to it. But also at the same time, if something truly you believe is gonna help them sell the house, you want to give them different perspective. And always say, hey, listen, I understand your concern or whatever that you want to say. And then, well, here's the things that's going to help you. The reason I think we should have it. Number one objection when it comes to marketing high-end property is probably, do I really need that have a sign up? Okay.
Yeah, but that's who's that serving?
That is number one questions. And I always can go back and say, you know what, that's a really great questions. And, then you name all the 5 or 6, I have like 5 or 6 things ready to go. To say, well, here's the reason. And because I'm going to name some of them. One of them say, hey, you might have a buyer who's coming through town, it's not even looking, and all of a sudden they see your house for sale, and actually there's a writer with your property web address on it. They look it up, they can see your house, and they may make an appointment. We have had that happen before. If you're in a high traffic area and say, hey, there's people who's gonna be driving by and looking through all the different neighborhoods, and this is gonna help you to get your house sell faster and get to know people, all that stuff. So you have make sure you have 5 or 6 points that you handle your objections. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes if you talk to them, they understand too. I had a client in Rye, 3 million property, did not want to sign, but he was like in the middle of 4 corners. He was in the highest traffic area, and he said no, and I said, okay, I'm always gonna, I'll tell them I'm always gonna be respectful of their wishes and be discretionary with their information, etc. I told him I thought that he should put the sign, but okay, if I understood his concern. However, like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, one of his best friends said, you don't have a sign up? And he said, no, I thought it was a problem. And his friend said, well, I think that's a mistake. And he called me up and he said, Eva, I think we should I was wrong. You were right.
They sometimes do it for someone else, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I don't know if he, maybe I didn't I'm usually pretty good at describing what the benefit is to them, but sometimes they might not see it. So I would at least do what Simon just said. You do the objection handling, and if they still say no, they say no.
And you want to respect that, and then you say, okay, that's fine. Let's try this. Let's do it for 2 weeks, and if we don't get any offer, any traffic, any showing, then let's revisit this conversation, right? And then a lot of time you say, you know what? They also may say to you, you know what? I'm okay for you to have a sign up. When you sell the property, I have no problem. Like under contract, all that stuff is good. That's fine. So you already know that they're willing to do that part. It's really getting them the hurdle and just say, hey, they want people to know that the house is on the market. But again, you want to make sure you respect what they want to do. And actually sometimes when you have those
Yeah.
conversations, when you handle objections, they actually tell you more, because like one of my clients like, hey, you know what? I know I'm just being pain in the neck. Like even my daughter told me, it's like, don't be a, XYZ, and just like let them put the sign up. I'm saying, hey, listen, I want to talk to your daughter. Can I just go talk to your daughter instead? Like make it a fun situation. Like don't, like it's always like,
Yeah.
making sure that you're able to do that, right?
People don't like to feel like they're wrong.
Right.
So
They don't.
how you approach an objection makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and how you having those conversations and your language of sales matter, your wordings matter. So really be careful how you say something when you talk to, especially the high net worth or luxury client, because they have a certain way of how they think as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like some of the secrets, right? Like, what do you think is like why high end luxury, like, either sales or listing offer opportunities that's out there? Like,
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
so like what would be like why would be that massive opportunity in the higher market?
Oh, well, number one, there's not as many of us doing it. I don't know how many agents there are in the MLS, but certainly only a fraction of them are focusing in on the luxury market. So you have less competition, as long as you have the mindset that you belong there. Because if you think you're stepping in on somebody else's ground, then that maybe it wouldn't be an advantage. But I think that one. Number two, your commissions are. I know we're not talking about commissions generally, but higher price point, the more opportunity to make a certain amount of money. I know that there are some people that sell, like colleagues of ours in the Midwest, they sell, 250 homes and they're not even hitting, 20 million. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that must be a lot of work, right? So I think it's less work. I think it's more opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I don't know, guys, how you study the statistic. Last year, 74% of real estate agent didn't sell any property. Only 26% did. Right? Out of the 26%, probably only like 5% sell the luxury market. Out of the 5%, maybe only 1% goes to the higher net worth clients. So as you said, the opportunities are there. Just find that right niche, find that right market that does not have a lot of people in it. Then you can actually, hey, you know what? I'm going to dominate here. You need to believe in yourself to be able to do that, okay? And also, when you deal with luxury clients, they have friends and friends and friends. If they own a $3+ million home, their friends and friends and friends probably have the same thing. So make sure you get invited to the events, to their party, never turn down an invitation to go to a birthday party, never turn down to go to a holiday party, like a golf outing, say, hey, come out to lunch. Always say yes. You never know who you can meet, right?
That is really good advice. Yeah. And if I could share just a really quick story, the 4th of July is my birthday. And one of my luxury listings was hosting a party on the 4th of July. And I said, oh, that's my birthday. And he said, okay, great. We'll make it the Eva birthday party. And he invited myself and my entire team to his 4th of July celebration. Not only were we privileged enough to see the fireworks that looked like they should have been on the East River, but also he had 150 people there. So we had the opportunity. But what I did to go to that party was I spend my birthday usually down the shore because I own a home there and it's the 4th of July and it's a tradition. I was down the shore. I drove home for the party and then I drove back to the shore because I was not missing that party. There was too much opportunity there and too much fun. But
yeah, definitely. And then the other thing is that I think sometimes you get intimidated by certain when someone have high net worth, And you need to kind of go past that hurdle, like, because most agents feel that way. Once you believe in yourself and once you actually can talk to the luxury clients and they like you and trust you, and they will do the business with you. Because I would say probably the 76% who doesn't do any business, they're definitely intimidated by that price point. Then out of also the 26%, the 24% or 26% that's a business, 12 of those percentage probably like don't even want to go with their high-end clients, right? So then you really talk about your 10 to 5%. That niche is so small. The opportunity is there. Get to know the people and believe in what you do and have that confidence. And once you have the confidence in your mindset, you are there. Like if you don't have that mindset and you don't believe in yourself, you're not gonna sell the high-end client. They're not gonna believe you. Okay? So making sure that you have that.
I would say also that, we talked about it, touched on it earlier. If you haven't sold in the price point that you're looking to go after, the same way I said, on my first deal, how many deals have you done so far? My team and I have done fill in the blank, right? Because that is true. You have a team, you have mortgage people, you have inspectors. Those are all people on your team that you can rely on expertise. So you don't have to say, I haven't sold any yet. You say, my team and I have worked on many homes in this price point. You don't lie. You never lie. But the same way you got that first listing and you leveraged your office or you leveraged your team or you leveraged whatever, apply the same principle to upping the price point.
And also, if you haven't done certain price point, it's okay to co-book with another agent in your company, or whoever it is, but mostly it's in your company, that have done luxury market, and they can actually show you the rope, learn everything from them, and get to know everything that you need to do.
That is actually something I did in the very beginning.
Yeah.
I just partnered with people. It was my lead, my relationship.
Learn from your experience, because you really need that. Because you're not able to know the right thing to say when you always have done business in the 500,000. All of a sudden, you get this amazing opportunity to sell a $4 million house. You need to know how to talk to those people.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
What I always try to remember is if somebody has a home that's $350,000, that's their most important piece of property. And if someone has a $2 to $3 million, that is their most important piece of property. So how I approach it is, whoever that client is, that's it for them. I started out as a talent agent, and whether it was an artist who was just starting, just heading out to do auditions, you had absolutely no history with them, or an A-list, whatever that deal was, it was the most important deal to that person, So for me, I kind of put in my head, right now I'm in conversation with a client, it's a $2 million listing. I just finished another listing with a client that was $600,000. It's the same emotion, it's the same passion, it could be the same aggravation, it could be the same, as we say in Italian, agita. So it's like you said, treat people the way you want to be treated. And if I walk into a listing and whatever that price point is, it is that most important.
And I think a really important thing about that
Yeah.
is making sure they believe you.
Yeah.
So, look people in the eye. Don't be afraid because, maybe you aren't saying exactly the right thing. Make sure they know.
Sure.
Look, I'm here. I'm connected to you. I'm not going to forget who you are, and I'm going to take care of you after you sign on the dotted line as well.
Yeah.
And I mean that.
And you don't know their history. It's like you said, you didn't grow up in a $3 million house, neither did I. But that doesn't mean I can't step into that, or I can hear what that person is saying.
Yeah.
And they may have grown up in a $3 million house.
I would also say don't be too worried about not knowing an area. Get the resources that you need to know the area, whether it be by partnering like Simon suggested. That is something I did in Ridgefield a few years back because I really didn't know it at the time, and the price point was high enough that I thought it was necessary for me to do. But the nature of my business, as I mentioned, was referrals, so I went where the referrals went. So I have a broad knowledge of homes, and I always tell people when I go on a listing appointment that I can learn the neighborhood but I know how to sell a house and get top
Yeah.
dollar for it. And that's true. You can take your expertise and move it
Yeah,
to different
definitely.
towns and just
Yeah.
learn the town. That's not, knowing the town is not the most important
I
thing.
think you just talked about the one of that next secrets. Like,
Oh,
what
I
is
didn't
the critical skills that you must master to shine to make sure you're the clear choice of getting that listing, right?
Yeah.
To beat out your local competitors. So knowing the market is very important. Like the
Yeah.
data, know all your informations.
But also know your own strengths.
Yeah.
You know, if I know that I don't really know the area, look, I'm never going to know an area like the back, like I live there, right? I'm never going to know it that way unless that's the only place I sell and I do every home and I can tell you that Tom lived over there and so lived over here. But for the most part, I can't do that in most of the areas that I cover. So I know that. So I own what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at, and then I get the support where I need it so that I'm showing up the way I want. So obviously I'm going to learn as much as I can anytime I'm going out, because I want to look like, you know, I'm knowing
Yeah,
what
always,
I'm doing.
definitely always be a learning base. Like some people say, oh, I don't need to learn this, I already know it. It's like, I'm still learning today.
Yeah.
I still go to mastermind, I still go to training, I still watch video, because there's always something you can pick up on. And also, when I say that know the local market, not just know it, but also like go really deep, like knowing like, hey, this town, how much is their garage parking gonna cost? Like, hey, you know what, does this country club offer this? What is the price point of this country club? Because you need to know all this stuff, because you might get questions on it asked. And like also from a town perspective, know all your school, hands down, you guys know that, right? But at the same time, know all the way into what type of kindergarten classes they offer. Are they full-time, part-time? Do they offer busing or no busing? Like you need to like even go to one of the board of ed meeting, just go in and listen to it to see what's going on in the town. Because if you want to sell the town, you for sure gotta know what's going on with the school system. Because most of the high net worth client, what do they think of first? They want the kids
The
to do
kids'
what?
education.
Education is number one, right? So we are surrounded in all different towns, from Short Hills, Summit, Chatham, Westfield, you know, all the time, Livingston. All those are amazing schools, so get to know those school systems like back of your head.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
When you talk about the signs, like you have your signs everywhere. How does that work?
At the time, it worked well for me. I was looking to get a little bit of a presence in my town, in the town I lived in. And so it was earlier on in my career, but I would offer to do open houses for people, and then put my signs everywhere. You know, there's a lot of courses out there that, you know, say how to really run an open house. And I haven't been to a single one of those courses that says to put less than like 12 signs. And yet, you know, how many people actually do that? I don't even do it myself anymore, which is terrible to admit. But we do 6 or 8. We don't put one and hope that they find the house. It's just a perception. You want to create a perception. And whether it be through the signs or other ways, you know, sponsoring things, showing up at you know, PTA and things like that. You know, you can show up and be everywhere. Just because you're everywhere doesn't mean you have a ton of listings, but it makes it look like it.
And also, what you want to do is that to make sure you have 10 properties that you can talk about back of your head. Also the high-end properties, because those are properties you use storytelling too, right? And also because if you go to, like, let's say a golf outing and someone's out there say, oh yeah, you know what, we live in Summit, like, and say, oh yeah, you know what, there's a house just sold the highest price in Summit, XYZ, name everything up. Then they say, oh wow, you kind of know your luxury market. So you're like, you know what, we're thinking about moving to Summit, and
Right.
you know, so on and so forth, right?
Big question. Where do you put valuation, house valuation when you establish price range?
Do you mean when you're meeting with somebody specifically, or just in?
Yes, you can get from the website valuation of the house.
Yeah.
And where it goes, sometimes it looks ridiculous to me.
I'm not sure exactly where you're going with that, but I would say for me, I don't like to put a number on a house until I'm in front of people. I want to be able to see how they react to the number. Oh, in my head. There's a lot of different ways that I'll do evaluations, but I typically will start off really broad or start off really, very, very tight, and then work my way in or out. So if I'm looking for something that's a $3 million property and I want to see what's going on right in the immediate area, and I only come up with one or two, I'm going to evaluate those, and then I'm going to take it a little bit further out in location. And then there might be certain things that I'll look at, like the year a home was built. I might not be comparing something that's, 1800s to something new construction.
But I'm talking about sometimes it gives you a number immediately comes from a computer.
Oh.
Evaluation.
Oh, you mean a home evaluation from a website?
Yes, that's what I
So what is your question? Sorry.
Where you put when you present it, when you keep number in your head, do you rely on the valuation?
I don't.
No,
That's what I was.
I do not rely on the evaluation. And when someone come to your site and do home evaluations, and you gotta make sure you have a disclaimer on there. And also, we immediately reach out and say, hey, by the way, we really need to come see your house to give you personal, professional evaluations.
Before you have already this number in your head.
Well, so I'll use it as a guide. Like, there are sites out there that never go in a home and they blast out prices like that, like it's, they're God. And I will say to somebody, there's a lot of companies out there that'll give you a price point on your home, but they've never been in it. How can they tell you what your home is worth if they've never seen it? So I keep it in the back of my head because I want to know what they think, because that's what they do, right? They see it and that's automatically what their home is worth. So I want to know what they think, but I don't take it into my decision on what it's worth.
So we're gonna stop right there. Hopefully you guys get some nuggets today.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you,
been a pleasure.
Eva, for coming.
If you guys, thank you.
Oh, you know what?
If you have a card and we can throw it in a bowl, I do have a copy of Unreasonable Hospitality that I would love to give out. And if you end up reading it, my team is doing a book club on it. We could always connect.